Phoebe and the Iceman, Book 4. For Phoebe. Brr. It was a very hot day. It was so hot that even Phoebe, who was normally rushing here, there and everywhere, was lying flaked out on the grass in her back garden. She was surrounded by her friends, who were also lying around in the shade under the old apple tree. There was Puss, who, even though he was asleep, still had a huge grin on his face. There was Rabbit, whose big ears were spread out to try to keep cool. And finally there was Foxy, who seemed to be fast asleep. But every time something moved in the bushes, he opened one beady eye to see what was going on. It was so hot that Phoebe could barely get enough energy to flick a fly off her nose. Just then, she could hear someone's mobile. Foxy reached into his coat immediately and answered it. He listened intently for a moment and then said, "Don't worry, we'll be right over." He jumped up and woke up the others and gathered them around him. They were all a bit grumpy, having just been woken up. Puss had been dreaming about the cat who lived next door. Rabbit had been dreaming about bouncing around in a huge field of juicy clover. And Foxy, well, who knows what was going through his mind? "We've got a job for Fog," said Foxy urgently. "But what will I tell Mum?" said Phoebe. "You know how she is about me going out." "Why not ask her if you can go and get an ice cream?" said Puss. "Great idea," said the others all together, and they all licked their lips at the thought of a nice cold ice cream. Phoebe went over to her mum, who was dozing in her favourite garden chair. "Mum," she said softly, and then when her mum didn't answer, "Mum," she said more loudly. Okay, said Mum a bit crossly. "No need to shout. I was just resting my eyes." "Yeah, right," thought Phoebe, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she put on her sweetest smile and her sweetest voice. "Mum, would you like an ice cream?" Her mum smiled. "You mean you would like one? But go on then, and come straight back, mind. I don't want mine to have melted in this heat." But these words were not heard by anybody at all, because Phoebe had already rushed off on her little red trike. Only the garden gate was moving, swinging to and fro after Phoebe had burst through on her way to the ice cream van in the park. As she was pedalling with her friends, otherwise known as Fog, clinging on, they demanded that Foxy should tell them what the urgent job was. "You'll find out very soon," said Foxy. "In fact, look over there." As they got to the park, the four friends could see immediately what was wrong. The ice cream man was there all right, but he was looking very glum, and instead of lots of children in the park eating ice creams, they were all very glum as well. Phoebe and her friends and the little red trike screeched to a halt by the van. "Thank goodness you've come," said the ice cream man in a very relieved voice. "My van has broken down and all the lollies are melting. The children in the park are so disappointed and I hate to let them down." "You need some ice," said Rabbit wisely. "I know," said the ice cream man, "but I've phoned all the shops and everyone I know, and even some people I don't know." Puss was about to ask how you can phone someone you don't know, but then decided to keep quiet and just grinned instead. Said Foxy. "This is a tough one." Chorused the others, frowning deeply. Just then the little red trike said a little nervously, "I think I might have an idea. It's difficult, but it might work." He and Foxy then had a quick discussion which the others couldn't quite hear. Phoebe thought she heard the word North Pole, but then dismissed it as they couldn't possibly be going there. Just then, Foxy and the little red trike stopped their discussion and said, "OK, we've got a plan, but it won't be easy." "Tell us more," said the others impatiently. "OK," said Foxy, "but if you don't want to come, we'll understand." "Ha!" said the others. "As if. We're Fog and we're all in this together. Besides," added Puss with a grin, "we've got to cheer these children up." But then Phoebe said, "What about my mum? She'll be cross if I don't get back soon." "Don't worry," smiled Foxy and gave a big wink. "She'll never realise we've been gone so long." "Climb on board and hold very tight," commanded the little red trike. Foxy had disappeared into the back of the van, but reappeared with a big thick blanket. "We're going to need this," he said sternly. "Rabbit's tutu won't keep her warm, and Phoebe is only wearing a t-shirt." "But where are we going?" said the others a bit more nervously. But before Foxy could answer, the little red trike began to move across the park. Faster and faster they went, until the children and the swings and all the mums and dads just became a blur. Just as it seemed they would crash into the trees, the little red trike gave an extra spurt. The very top branches of the trees swooshed past, just underneath their feet. As they looked down, they could see Bristol far below them. They could see the boats in the docks, and they could even see the aeroplanes in the distance at the airport. Faster and faster, and higher they went, until it felt as if they could just reach out and touch the clouds. Rabbit's ears were flying, Foxy's big tail was streaming out behind, and Puss was looking straight ahead, trying to keep grinning. Phoebe's hands were gripping the handlebars so tightly that her knuckles were white. But then she looked down and gasped in amazement. "Wow," she said to the others, "look!" And there, far below them, they could see the sea. It was a wonderful deep blue, with what appeared to be huge white rocks floating on it. Even Foxy seemed to be impressed, although he tried hard to remain cool. "Those are icebergs," said Rabbit. The others looked at her in amazement. "How do you know that?" they chorused. "I've got an amazing picture book at home," she said. Then she added, "Do you know there is 6 times as much ice below the water as you can see above it?" The others were very impressed, but Phoebe just kept quiet, as she hadn't done her 6 times table yet. Then the little red trike said, "Hang on, Fog, we're going down." In the distance, they could make out the land, but it was all white. Closer and closer they got, and were soon swooshing low over the snow. They landed in a big flurry of white powder. When it had all settled, they climbed off the little red trike and looked around. "Brrr," said Puss. "It's jolly cold here." "Brrr," said Rabbit, with snow still stuck to her ears and her little pink tutu. I'm cold," stammered Phoebe. And then she looked up and exclaimed, But who are you?" Her friends looked up and suddenly saw who she was talking to. Appearing as if from nowhere, a small figure stood there, dressed from head to toe in fur. All that could be seen was her face, and she was grinning at them, just like Puss. "Hello," she said. "My name is Aujak." "That's a nice name," said Phoebe. "Mine's Phoebe, and I'm named after a goddess of the moon." "That's nice," said Aujak. "Mine means summer in my language. But what brings you and your friends to Greenland?" Puss sniggered. "Why is it called Greenland when it's covered in snow?" Just then Foxy broke in before they could find out why Greenland was in fact all white. He went on to explain about the ice cream man and that they needed some ice urgently. "You'd better come with me and talk to my dad," said Aujak. After a short walk, Aujak, Phoebe and the other members of Fog came to a small village which had almost been hidden completely by the snow. Aujak ran over to a tall man and spoke to him in a language that none of Fog could understand. As Aujak talked, he kept looking over at the 4 friends and their little red trike. If he was surprised to see them there, he didn't show it. After a little while, he smiled broadly, almost as wide as Pussy's grin, and beckoned for them to follow him. They strode off into the snow, and the members of Fog and their new friend Aujak did their best to keep up. After a short while, he came to what looked like a frozen river. There he took out an axe and began cutting blocks of ice. "This is brilliant," said Foxy. But then he frowned. "But how are we going to get it home?" "Don't worry," said Aujak. "My dad will put it into some fur bags so it won't melt." "And I can easily carry the extra weight," said the little red trike, adding, "I'm stronger than I look." And so the 4 members of Fog loaded up their bags of ice and climbed onto the little red trike, which groaned alarmingly. As Phoebe started pedalling, they all shouted, "Thank you, Aujak, and thank you, Aujak's dad." "Don't worry," said Aujak, as her dad smiled. "And don't forget to come again," she shouted. "We'll be back," chorused the 4 friends, and soon the ground was disappearing beneath them, and they swooshed up into the clouds. In what seemed no time at all, they could feel themselves slowing down, and before they knew it, they were looking down on the park and the ice cream man. They finally screeched to a halt, much to the amazement of the ice cream man, and started unloading their ice. "Wow, this is fantastic," he said. "I know that Fog is amazing, but this is the best I've ever seen." Then he added, "I don't know how to thank you all." "That's easy," they said together, licking their lips. "Can we have an ice cream each, and one for my mum?" added Phoebe. "Coming right up," smiled the ice cream man, adding, "You've made lots of children in the park very happy." The 4 friends climbed on board the little red trike once more and sped off for home. "Ah, here's your lolly," said Phoebe to her mum, a little breathlessly. "Wow, that was quick," said her mum. "I must have nodded off again." The friends just laughed, and Foxy gave a huge wink. As Phoebe tucked into her lolly, she noticed some powdery snow which was just melting in the pocket of her dress. She smiled to herself and looked forward to seeing Aujak again. The end. With love from Paw Paw, Gung Gung and Aujak. And apologies to Phoebe's mum. Bye bye.